CEO and founder of Watch Her Work, and what I do is I curate female brilliance. That's my job. I film incredibly smart women all day long and curate their advice on the web so other women have it when they need it. How do you ask for a raise? How do you tell your boss you're pregnant? What do you do for client hits on you? Those questions and many more. And when I started this exercise, I could have filmed a few people that were really smart and answered all my questions, but I didn't. I filmed hundreds of women. Because let's face it, work is different if you're pretty than if you're not. If you're tall or petite, if you're heavy, if you're black, if you're different in any way, it's different for you. So we can't get all of our advice from Sheryl Sandberg. She's super smart, but she can't really inform all of us. Okay? So that's what I did. And so that work has led me to corners of the globe around speaking about these issues about diversity, inclusion, and worth, and the future of work. And so this topic of what it means to be inclusive is kind of an over-discussed topic, but an under-analyzed topic. And so what I think we're going to do today is really analyze it, all right? So, okay, so for me, this is 3 questions when I think about this subject. Am I here? Am I heard? And am I harnessed? So let's take am I here first. Let's face it. We really, 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 really like homogeneity. It's comfortable, right? I remember going to a predominantly white college, and if you go to any predominantly white college in America, you go to the cafeteria, and all the black kids are huddled together for warmth. Right? And they used to come up to us and say, "Why do you guys all sit together?" And we would say, "Why do you guys all sit together?" We like it. It's comfortable. It's easy. It's cozy. It's familiar. And let's face it, inclusion sucks. It's really hard. Maternity leave and paternity leave, they're super inconvenient. Putting in ramps and adaptive equipment is expensive. Doing all this accommodation of somebody that's really weird and doesn't necessarily fit into your culture, it's so hard. And we talk about it with these noble, broad sweeping brushes, but the truth of the matter is, it's really hard. And if we could approach it with that, instead of like this neutral attitude, I think we'd get further, right? It's something about acknowledging that something is getting ready to be difficult that makes us approach it with more grit, with more determination, and with more commitment. When you approach it like it's a lightweight, it doesn't ever really happen. So you've got to acknowledge that we have built whole constructs around maintaining homogeneity. You know what the terms are? Pattern matching and fit. I don't know, she's just not a good fit. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? What is an organization? An organization is a group of standard operating procedures, mores, values. It's the way we do things. It's the McDonald's way. When you go to McDonald's in Kansas City, it should be the same as the McDonald's in New York. It should be the same as McDonald's in China, right? It's replicable because of the standardization, because of the homogenization, because we're keeping everything the same. Well, what's diversity? It's dissonance, it's noise, it's conflict, it's chaos, it's different. So in a lot of ways, these two things are pulling in opposite directions. So you say you want to be innovative, but you want to do it in a standard way. I don't know how you do that. So we theoretically, in our minds, I think we really believe it when we say it. We really think we're all about innovation and being inclusive. But are we really? We want you to be really creative, but in this little box. It's easy to confuse what is with what should be. I love conversations that I have. I get brought in to talk to male leadership teams. It's so fun. Oh my God, it's so fun. And invariably, some brave soul or even intrepid soul will say to me, but it's Denise, it's a meritocracy. Like, leadership rises to the top because those are the best. And I'm like, so what you're saying to me is only white guys are the best? Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, but that's what you just said. Because this is how it is the way it should always be. If we're going to truly be inclusive, we got to let go of some of these beliefs that we don't even realize how much it shapes us. You know, when I see a white hip-hop artist, I'm stressed out. It's difficult for me, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, what is he talking about? Right? I don't know. Right? And we all have it. We all have this desire for things to be the way they've always been. And if we're honest, we will try desperately to release that. Oh, so weird. Okay, so inclusion isn't free. It's super duper expensive. But the question is, who has to pay? So let me give you an example. I believe diversity and inclusion is like a stadium. Gentlemen in the room, how long on average do you have to wait to go to the bathroom when you're at the stadium? It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Southern fitting, you have to wait a long time.
If that, right? Ladies, how long do you have to wait? Second half. So I'm not making anything up, right? So, by any standard definition, that's an F. This is an institution that's providing a service, and it's failing half its population. None of us were here when that stadium was built, right? It's not really anybody's fault today that the stadium doesn't have enough bathrooms for women. Actually, this is a failure of homogeneity, because I guarantee you there were no women in the room when that stadium was designed, or somebody would have said, excuse me, pardon me, right? But now we're here, and this is the reality that we have. So what do? I submit to you, we only have 3 options. 1, we can reallocate existing resources. We can flip 30% of the men's rooms and make them ladies' rooms, so we have more bathrooms, okay? Number 2, we can inject additional resources. We can pull out the Toyota Tundra kiosk, we can pull out and we can put more bathrooms in, right? Inject additional resources into that system. Choice number 3, we could do nothing. How many stadiums have chosen choice number 3? All of them. So there's one in Oklahoma that just redesigned, and they flipped and put in way more ladies' rooms. And you know what they found? Their concession revenue went up 40%. Because you're not going to wait a line for the bathroom and then wait on a line to buy a hot dog. So what you're saying is, inclusion is good business. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Did that just blow your mind? So it's not about, like, here's all these stadiums all over the country that haven't made this move. Because they don't want to. Because it's not important. Because we haven't elevated as a problem. We haven't made it so intractable that they have to fix it. Even though it's good business sense. Okay? Being inclusive costs. It costs you maybe sometimes inconvenience and familiarity and comfort, and sometimes, yeah, actual money that you have to put up, actual dollars and cents to change things. You can't be intentionally exclusive for hundreds of years and then be accidentally inclusive. The fact that you feel good about it, like, okay, it's over, racism's over, sexism's over. We're all here, we're all free. I think everyone's equal. I see no color. The fact that you feel like that doesn't change the reality of where we are today. So it's not free. And everybody in this room has to pay. Ooh, watch your fairy tales. We have a lot of stories in our culture that do not feed us. I mean, can we talk about Rapunzel? Girl, you helped your mom get up the tower, you helped the prince get up the tower, it's your hair. You could have gotten out. I'm just saying, if she had applied herself, she could have gotten out. Right? But we have all of these myths that shape how we operate in our world, and they're toxic. So, anybody following the college cheating scandal? Yes. It's giving me life. I'm so here for it. I can't even tell you, it is giving me life. Because it is just illuminated this big spotlight on one of the biggest myths of our culture. Right? One of the biggest myths in our culture. If you go to the Ivy League, you're more valuable. You're better. And everyone is there is so much better. Where 40% of the kids are legacy. They're only here because their mom went here, or their dad went here. So what we've said, the story that we told ourselves, is a C student who got into Yale because his father went there is more valuable than a young woman who grew up in poverty, stepped over drugs, dodged the gangs, and still graduated top of her class, but she went to U of H. She doesn't have any sexy internships. She doesn't have any extracurricular activities because she worked 2 jobs to take care of her siblings. But somehow, that guy is more valuable than her. That's the story we tell ourselves every day. And some of us in this room won't even interview people that don't come from certain schools. We don't even interview them. We don't send them the announcements for the job postings or the internships. Because this group of people are just better. They're myths. But they shape, and all of us have it. I always say we're all a part of patriarchy. Right? If you go to African countries that do genital circumcision for girls, it's not the men that hold the girls down, it's the women. We're all in this soup of thinking of this mythology of what is right and what is wrong and how things should be done. And we have to understand, and we have to, again, I keep using this phrase, unlearn, that it's so important to let stuff go and to test the fences. Test the fences and make sure that what we believe is really true. And how often it isn't. So I can't wait. I'm watching Lori Loughlin. I think she's going to go to jail for 1,000 years. It is giving me life. I can't even explain to you. I'm just like, yes. Because you know how many rooms I have been in that people thought I didn't belong there? I didn't deserve to be there. You know how many rooms with very highly paid men I've been in and they couldn't spell words? Hey Denise, how do I spell? I've been surrounded by mediocrity my entire life. And for once I'm getting validation, like, they are mediocre. Right? So let's suspend, if you walk away with this presentation for one thing, let's suspend this myth of meritocracy and let's have the courage to interview somebody different, to include somebody with a different perspective, a different way. I think about hip-hop. I grew up in New York and I was there when it began, and these guys were selling CDs out of the trunks of their cars because the record labels wouldn't give them the time of day. Now hip-hop is the #1 genre in the world. Don't miss out on genius. Okay, so that's about being here. Now let's talk about being heard. Okay? Actually, go back. Let's talk about being heard. A friend of mine was a young black female attorney at Sprint when Apple came in to present the iPhone. And the board didn't get it. They said, this is just another phone. This is not a big deal. We don't see the hype. We're going to pass on it. And she's like jumping out of her seat because she's like, this is going to change the world. Are you crazy? We've got to. And they were like, little girl, we've been doing this for years. We know what we're doing. Do you know how much money this company has made? We got this. 65% of market share later. How did that story end? You can have diversity, but if you don't actually listen to the different voices, it won't matter. Right? I used to work for AOL in Miami. I ran marketing and promotions for South Florida, and I was housed in the office with AOL Latino, and they were doing a big event, and they had translated all the collateral, and it came in, and it was in Puerto Rican Spanish, because it was done in New York, and it wasn't in Cuban Spanish, which is what is going down in Miami. And this sweet little girl, and young like this, the assistant of the assistant of the assistant, bottom of the room, raised her hand and said, "You guys, I don't think we should, this is not gonna work, we need to do it over. Oh, it's so expensive, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal, I'm sure you're overthinking it." I thought they were gonna flip the truck over. Those people were furious. You're trying to sell to us and you don't even care to talk to us in our language. That is catered to us. Right? So it wasn't that they weren't told, so they didn't listen. So, you know, if you go out and you get that one black person or that one Latina person on your staff, do you listen to them when they say, ooh, 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 no, don't do that? Don't you wish Gucci had more of those people? You gotta listen. Even when it's expensive, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's hard, and you just don't want it to be true, you have to listen. Part and parcel of that is pass the mic. I struggle with people that stand up and talk for hours about poverty and they've never been poor. You don't understand it. Pass the mic. Or men that talk about sexual harassment and flirtation in the workforce and say it's not that big a deal, it's just harmless flirtation. You've never been on the receiving end of it. You don't understand it. Pass the mic. Or people like on NPR the other night, a guy was talking about hip hop and I wanted to crash my car. Because I was like, what are you talking about? You don't even know what you're talking about. Pass the mic. You're not the expert at everything. You don't know how to do everything. And make sure you're reaching out to people who actually have that experience. I don't wear a hijab. I don't really understand it. So the topic comes up, I what? And I think you can share your platform and share your power in everyday situations. If I'm 5'11", I have a booming voice, I'm an extrovert. I don't have any problem getting heard in meetings, right? No problem. But if I'm in a meeting and I see, what's your name? Danielle is just trying to get in and she can't get a word in edgewise, and every time she starts talking, somebody cuts her off. I'm going to say, you know, Danielle, it sounds like you have something you wanted to add. What are your thoughts? They get that simple, small gesture of making space for her so that she is heard. I was brought into a group of male leaders, and they were telling me about how woke they are and how progressive and how they've done so much great work on advancement in this space. But they had 2 women in the leadership team, and every time they started talking, the guys interrupted them. And when I pointed it out to them, they wanted to die. Because they were just woke. Right? Like, you have to be conscious of how you share your power. Because we all have power in some way, shape, or form. Right? You guys are creatives. You write the stories. The people that write the stories make the rules. As long as the hunter writes the story, the lion will never be the hero. So as storytellers, you're critical. You're critical to this. Okay, to my underrepresented folks in the room, I see y'all. We have a part to play in this too. Alice Walker wrote a book, You Never Step in the Same River Twice. And I think it's critically important that we don't bring every bad story, every terrible situation to every interaction. We have a part to play in inclusion as well. I'll give you a quick example. A friend of mine was hired as an administrator at a college, and he was young. He's like 28. So it's like him, he's black guy, and 70 white guys, right? And so he was insecure because he was young. And so he started growing this truly horrible beard. It was horrible. It was horrible. And so another black staff member at the college pulled him to the side and said, "Bro, it's not working. Right? You tried it. It's not doing what you wanted to do. Just cut it off. It looks terrible." And he told me that story, and I said, "Could a white guy have told you that?" No. We have to stay open. We have to stay coachable. You have to be able to learn from everyone. You can't want to be included, but not be inclusive yourself, right? So you have to allow a space that people can tell you things that will help you grow. And if you shut down that line of communication and don't let people who are generally people in power tell you the stuff that's going to help you, you're not going to get very far. So we've got to stay open. That's the part that we have to play in creating an inclusive culture. Fair? All right. Okay, last but not least, am I harnessed? This I call the selfish slide. Let's go to the next one. This guy is one of my muses. It's the bastard son of a peasant, aka Leonardo da Vinci. We can't afford to waste genius. The geniuses of our history have come from all walks of life, all spaces, all corners of the globe, all conditions. We can't afford to waste it. Heaven help us if the cure for cancer is born in A-leaf. Protect us if the person who can figure out climate change is born in the South Bronx. We are completely out of luck because we don't believe in our country in developing everybody. I mean, talk about the ridiculousness of educating children based on zip codes. It's ridiculous. On its face, it's ridiculous. I want as many Leonardo da Vinci's as there can be in our culture. Like, we have real problems to solve. And we can't solve them if we exclude 2/3 of our population from the discussion. It's not productive. We're not helping ourselves. And we have to think, I love this statement. I love it because I said it. Time wasted rationalizing the mediocre could be spent creating the magnificent. Time spent rationalizing the mediocre could be spent creating the magnificent. You're creatives. You want to create the magnificent. And to do that, you've got to bring everybody in as much as possible. Inclusion isn't a destination. Sorry, there's no end in sight. It's exhausting. It's tiring. It's expensive. It's hard. People are weird. But if we do it, we'll have a better world. Really, truly, honestly, we'll have a better world. It's really hard, but I believe in you. You can do it. Thank you.